Hey everyone, it's part 12. So a couple of things you'll notice right off the bat. One, I've got a neat new channel intro that'll play before every video. It'll give an indication of what type of video you're about to watch, commentary, tutorial, or anything else, and it'll be a neat little reminder of what channel the video's from. Let me know what you think about it. The second thing is that I went ahead and took my own advice and put pretty much all of the lip-syncing frames into a separate symbol that I can draw from and do the lip-syncing. You can see down in the bottom left corner, the Keyframe Caddy extension. I'll put a link to the extension in the description. Whether you're an amateur animator like myself, or you're a professional or even have your own studio, Keyframe Caddy is a huge productivity enhancer. And I'd like to thank the creators, CloudKid Studio, for making it, and making it available for us to use. Third, the video's in 1080p. I can't believe I didn't realize this sooner, but my tablet is a 4:3 aspect ratio at 1600 by 1200 pixels. And for whatever reason, I didn't think that it'd be big enough for a 1920 by 1080 frame. Don't know what I was thinking, but there you have it. 1080p, 60 FPS. Anyways, we're going to be spending today working on Jamie's phone conversation with Mac. This is Scene 6, Shot 3. Specifically, we're just focusing on Jamie's portion of the scene. Mac is being animated in a separate symbol that we'll maybe be working on in the next episode. We're actually getting way closer to the end than I had originally thought. It's moving by an extraordinary pace, and I'm super psyched to get it out. And most of it's all thanks to doing this series right here. After its release, I'll try and start right away on episode 3. I'm already in the process of writing the script. Working on that, and then I'll perhaps work on another project on the side. I'm also considering, and please, give me some input on this idea, of doing a short series on the basics of Flash animation. I'm by no means an expert on the subject, but I think I've accumulated enough expertise to at least provide some basic instruction. So yeah, let me know. I mean, I know there's already hundreds of videos out on the subject. Jazza Studios has an amazing channel that I highly recommend you check out. I'll link it in the video description. Of how to do basically anything. He's an amazing artist, an amazing animator, voice actor, composer. He does everything, and he's just brilliant at it. But, I don't know, it might be worthwhile for me to give my own input on the subject. So, yeah, let me know. So, right here, I'm going through this, and I had to make a duplicate mouth for each shape, but in a smile. Thankfully, it was a pretty straightforward process, and it didn't take too long. But this is one of those things that I was fearing when I decided to go ahead and make the symbols for all the mouths. Again, this still takes way less time than how I was doing it before, so it's not too many complaints from me. One of the things that I hadn't even considered is that the symbol didn't have to be all-encompassing. If there are a few shapes that I'd have to draw to get it just right, that's still a huge time saver. This whole scene, Scene 5, will go by so much quicker. Basically, the entire thing is two people having a conversation. And it's just going to be so much quicker now that I'm utilizing this. And as I'm going through this, watching this, there's a couple of shots here that I notice could use some fine-tuning. But that's something that I'll end up coming back to later. Another thing that I noticed while watching this is that I should really learn some of the keyboard shortcuts. It almost seems like half of the time that I'm working on these shots, I'm spending navigating the menus. It's just another piece of good advice that I've known for years, but haven't put into practice. The tablet I'm using, the Cintiq 21UX, it has function keys on it that I do use quite frequently, for stuff like undo, delete, frame forward, or back frame. But things like insert frame or some of the tool switching is stuff that I just haven't got around to learning, or mapping to key to some of the function keys on the tablet. So something that I'm going to get back to in the future. So what you noticed just before right there was I skipped ahead about 50 or 60 frames, and I'm doing that because the audio that's on the timeline is Mac's during that portion. He'll be speaking during that time, and she'll be reacting, moving her eyes and head around, and her mouth will be staying pretty stationary. Speaking of stationary, that's another benefit of using the mouth symbols. You don't have to move the mouth around after you finish putting in all the frames. Beforehand, After I drew all the frames, I had to go back and slide them back into place so that the mouth didn't move all around the face. I'm actually really happy about making this switch, and I'll be doing it from now on. I'd also like to briefly thank Eric again for coming onto the show. It was a pleasure to have him, and it made things a lot more fun than it already is. I love doing these screen captions, and I love doing the commentary for it, but having him on board for those 2 episodes was just phenomenal. Hopefully he'll be back soon, and maybe we'll even have some other of the voice actors come on in the future, just to give things a little bit of variety, because, I don't know, it was a lot of fun, and like I said, I hope to do it again. So, we finished up the lip-syncing for Jamie, and wow, that took way less time than before. There's still going to be some touch-up work to do, but besides that, it's practically done. Now we're moving on to animating her eyes. I won't be going so far as to put in blinking. I've tried it before in the past with other animations, and in my opinion, it doesn't add a whole lot to the animation. I think if it needs to be emphasized blinking, then sure, but just general, because you have to, blinking is a little bit excessive for animating, and that's just sort of why I avoid doing it, and have been avoiding doing it for this animation. Her eyes will still be moving about, so that's what we're doing right now. We don't want her to look completely soulless. I'm realizing now that I totally could have put both of her eyes on the same layer, like I usually do with most of the eyes, but because of how far apart they were when I was setting up the character, I decided to keep them separate. It's something that I can go back and fix in the future, but really at this point, it's kind of unnecessary. So, well, I wrote out this script, and I'm just gonna skip over this one line where I was apologizing for not having much to say because I've been talking this entire time. Though I will say, though, in the future, I might try and make sure that the footage that I'm capturing is actually interesting. Generally, that's going to mean a lot more frame-by-frame work, but yeah, it's generally going to be a little bit more interesting to watch as well. So I'll take note of that and try to give you less lip-syncing and only lip-syncing. Working on these eyes, you end up getting some pretty silly-looking expressions, where one eye is looking in one direction, the other is pointing somewhere else entirely. Luckily, that all gets fixed, so we don't end up with any of that in the final product. But it's just something that it was. I mean, honestly, it was hilarious for me while I was working on it, just to see them being in all these weird places and then moving them around. When I was putting them into the correct position, just you'd be able to see some things that were just a little bit, I don't know, they're funny. So there's a moment right here that's coming up where I cut out part of the capture. And all I was trying to do was adding another, which you saw earlier was the eyelids being raised up. The eyelids. Did I say eyelids? I don't know. But I decided against it and took it out. It would have been fine, but it really needed to be more subtle than I was making it at the time, and I was just like, I just kind of basically went, oh, whatever, it'll be fine. I could add it in later, and I might, but that's why I cut out the part in the clip, just because it didn't really need to be shown, and it didn't really add anything to it, and I explained it here anyways. So that's actually about all I have for today. Tune in next time for part 13, and I'll see you then. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider giving it a little thumbs up. And if you have questions, comments, or suggestions, feel free to leave a comment below, so that I know, and so that I can keep providing you with something to watch. To check out the rest of this series, click on the TV, and if you want to see the first episode of Miserable Mac, click on the computer. For more of my other work, take a look at my YouTube page, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks again for watching.